Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP-TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you test their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had, probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner, 714-948-0100, 714-948-0100, 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. All right, welcome in everybody listening in on all of our network affiliates, radio, television, whatnot. Everybody also tuning in on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Check that group out, folks. Chicago Food Favorites. Talk about your favorite restaurants, your favorite recipes, and how about your favorite foods? Make some friends, have some fun. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. That's good stuff, folks. I started that group a while back, and we've got many thousands of members in the group. Don't spam the group. If you spam the group, I will kick your ass out immediately. That's right. All right. Anyway, I'm the administrator for it, and it's a fun group. Talk about, again, all the favorite things that you like in foods and whatnot. Listen, a lot of people get some really good ideas there, and I post on there just about every day. Chicago Food Favorites, hey, listen, it's fun, and there are members from all four corners of this universe or this world, for all you flat earthers out there. All right. And also our friends over at Vacation Buddies giving away a couple of nights here in fabulous Las Vegas or in Branson, Missouri, or in Orlando, Florida. If you know the answer to a very simple trivia question, which I'm going to give it to you right now. If you know the answer, call the telephone number right afterwards. Claim your 2 free nights in Las Vegas, Branson, Missouri, or Orlando, Florida. Which city out of these three is the home to the tallest building in America? Is it A, New York, B, Chicago, or C, Los Angeles? If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777. Vacation Buddies is not affiliated with this station, but they want to give you a couple of nights right here in Vegas, Branson, Missouri, or Orlando, Florida, if you know the answer to that very simple trivia question. If so, again, call 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777. Call now. You know, this show has been on for a very, very long time. And people have asked me many times, they say, all right, well, you got into sports. And how'd you do it? Well, I said, look, I was an athlete when I was in elementary school, played 1 year of Little League. Played high school baseball, high school track in the off season, and went on from there. And they say, no, well, we understand that part, but I mean, like, get into it. If you're not necessarily at the age where you can perform, you can't really play anymore. Let's just say somebody past the age of playing, whatever, because there is a clock, so to say. And maybe your on the field performance wouldn't be as good as off the field. But there are so many different avenues to go down. And the oddity for me was that I did play, and then when I couldn't play anymore, I said, well, geez, I better go back to school and go learn something. And so I went back to school. I went back to college. I started college right out of high school, my second semester of my senior year. And I went for about a year and a half there. And then it was just turning my attention to baseball full time. But when I couldn't play anymore after injury, I said, well, I better go learn something. And so I'm going to need some skills beyond. And see, this is an ongoing problem that I have with those one-and-done players for the NBA. Well, we'll play 1 year and then we'll go ahead and go and play professional basketball. And most of those people, let's face it, most of those people end up in a developmental league like the G League or something like that. They may play for a year or two or whatever, but let's face it, the only reason you can't play professional sports, actually there's two reasons. Either A, you're injured, which was, in fact, my case that cut my career. Or B, you're just not good enough. And that is a very heavy, cold, hard reality. Either you're just not good enough or you're injured. That's it. There are no other excuses. There are no other acceptable excuses. Let's put it that way. Everybody has excuses. Well, I used to do this and I didn't get along with this person and management didn't like me. Listen, folks, if you're good, the money is there. Trust me. If you're good enough, you'd be playing, period. I mean, look back to the way the New York Yankees were managed under George Steinbrenner and his continual conflicting relationship, for example, in the 1970s with Billy Martin. And they just went back and forth and back and forth and back. It was just an ongoing feud. And even the White Sox faced it in the 1990s, or better yet, the 2000s, when they had Ozzie Guillen managing the White Sox, and he won a World Series in 2005 with the White Sox, and there was the ongoing managerial issue with Kenny Williams, the general manager. Now, Kenny was a very average player in the league, in the same light as Billy Beane was. He was a good player, but he didn't really have too much opportunity. He got himself injured at a young age. He was one of those high-ranking prospects. And when he got to Major League Baseball, it just didn't work out for Billy Beane, but he became a great executive working with the athletics organization. But in the grand scheme of things, you say, what does it take to do something when you can't play? And so you say, all right, well, there's a path. I mean, the path that I took, ironically, I went to school, went to business, into the business world. And the oddity for me was that I actually went through the business world and was dragged into the sporting world. So it's not something that I was seeking to do, to be on air here and to be a manager in entertainment and this, that, and the other. I've done a lot of different things. I've served as a sports and entertainment executive for quite some time. But sometimes things just happen in the strangest ways, and it's kind of like you're not supposed to figure it out, right? It's like you don't get what you can't handle, and you're given things when you can handle things, if you know what I mean. And so this is the ongoing dilemma. People say, well, how do you break into it? How do you do this? Look, there's no magic formula. There really isn't. And so I guess the question you have to ask yourself then is, well, not only how did you do it, but what was the work involved to get it done? And that's where a lot of people seem to kind of miss the boat. They say, well, you got a break doing this and you can do this and that. No, it's not that somebody got a break. My old man used to say, I make my own breaks. He always used to say that. And I found it interesting because it's very true. I mean, look, sometimes things are handed to you, but you can't necessarily say, well, that was handed to you or that was handed to me, because there was probably a series of events that led up to that event happening. Something was essentially handed to you or something to that effect, right? And so that's just a heavy dose of reality. And so you can have all the animosity you want towards this one or that one, but ultimately what ends up happening? The animosity, green with envy, all that. Well, what ends up really happening is that people's feelings get hurt. And when the feelings get hurt, then it gets personal. And when it gets personal, then people say things that they likely should not say, and then things get really messy. And that in itself is an enormous problem. So how do you get around the system? Because people say, well, it's a system thing and you got to know somebody. Let me tell you something, folks. It's not who you know. It's who knows you. And what I mean by that is who will actually pick up the phone when you call? Who will text you back when you hit them up? Who will say, oh yeah, I know that guy. He's a good guy or a bad guy, or he's okay, or whatever the heck it is. And so It's not who you know. No. It's all about who will admit that they know you. And I always tell people, it's funny, I have these conversations on a seemingly regular basis. I just had one of these the other day, and somebody said, well, you say that you are involved working with this particular person, right, to be nameless, and in the political world. And I say, yeah, as a matter of fact, I know that person quite well. And they say, well, how do you know them? And never mind that. And I tell people, in fact, I told this person, I said, look, why don't you do this? If you're questioning my credibility, which you have every right to do, why don't you contact them and ask them if they know me? Why does all this stuff matter? I'll tell you why. Because if you want to work in professional sports or entertainment or something to the effect, look, you've got to have some kind of inroads, but you've got to also have a little bit of moxie. You've got to have a little bit of intestinal fortitude. You have to be able to kick doors open when you see just a little crack of light. Because let's face it, sports and entertainment is not for the faint of heart. No, I mean, let's face it, the music business, I'm going to go off on a tangent here for about 15 seconds. The music business, in my opinion, is the dirtiest business I've ever seen. And I've been around the music business since the 1990s. And I've seen it in its ugliest form. And I've seen some winners in it, but I've seen a lot of hard work. And when that song, It's a Long Way to the Top If You Want to Rock and Roll, came out, believe me, it is a very long road. Not just for music, but for professional sports too. I'm going to continue on with this when we come back here on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at
714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Do you know someone with a drug or alcohol problem? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything. Stop the drug and alcohol nightmare. Are drug and alcohol problems hitting you too close to home? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes, are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door. store without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment is brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's the College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com. Check them out, folks. All right, welcome back to everybody listening in on all of our radio affiliates, including our friends waking up with us over in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM. Right down the road, everybody driving home between Columbus, Georgia, Auburn, Alabama, War Eagle, and our friends in Montgomery and all points in between. Listening in on WAUD, that's 1230 on the AM dial, home of the Atlanta Braves. Welcoming everybody up and down the Midwest, all the way out to the West Coast, those driving between sunny Southern California and right here in Las Vegas. Listening in on Highway Country Radio, 101.5 FM and 107.3 FM. That's home of the Vegas Golden Knights, the Raiders, and the Sports Circus at 7 p.m. 7 p.m., by the way, just like in Auburn, Alabama. We're on over there at that time. Over the afternoon, everybody driving home, listening to us on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA over in Honolulu throughout the Hawaiian Islands. That's home of the 49ers, home of the New York Yankees and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Everybody watching on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, Wild Charter, and independent cable affiliates in select markets. Thanks for joining us there, plus Hotel TV. We're applicable to about 4 million impressions per hour. We're applicable. And, of course, all of our friends streaming on streamers and those people listening in and watching on Chicago Food Favorites. Again, check that group out, folks, on Facebook, Chicago Food Favorites. Talk about your favorite foods, your favorite restaurants, your favorite recipes. Make some friends, have some fun. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. And by the way, our friends over at Vacation Buddies, at the top of the hour, gave away a couple of nights right here in Las Vegas, or Branson, Missouri, or Orlando, Florida, if you know the answer to a simple trivia question. If you just tuned in, I'm going to give you the question. Call the number I give you right afterwards. Pick up your 2 free nights in Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or Branson, Missouri. Here's the question. Which of these cities is home to the tallest building in America? A, New York, B, Chicago, or C, Los Angeles? If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777. Vacation Buddies, again, is not affiliated with the station, but they want to give you a couple of nights right here in Las Vegas, Branson, Missouri, or in Orlando, Florida. To get to where I got to here. And we've done literally thousands of shows for this program. And I'll tell you what, it's a lot of work. And you hear me, sometimes I will pause for a moment. Sometimes I will ramble off a whole bunch of things very quickly. But you got to realize, I do not prepare a show per se. I mean, I talk about what I talk about, whatever the content is. I'll pick my topics. I'll develop the topics. I don't do rapid fire. When I first started over here at Fox 1340 here in Las Vegas, they wanted to get me to spend somewhere around 57 seconds to a minute 12 on a whole bunch of topics, kind of like they do on other programs. So they essentially wanted me to be another program, kind of like the cookie cutter plan that works for, like Colin Cowherd, for example. I started in the same studio as Colin with the same producer, Bobby Machado. And Bobby was really tough on me, but Bobby was good. And I'll give him that. Bobby was really tough on me. But Bobby produced Colin Cowherd's show, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, he also produced, out of the same studio, JT the Brick or John Tornauer. And so I was the third show out of there that was syndicated out of just that studio from Fox 1340 right here in Las Vegas. But how did it happen? Well, look, there's a story of how it happened, how the whole thing just kind of fell into place, so to say. And look, everybody creates their own story, so I'm not going to bore you to tears by telling you how it happened, but I will tell you, you can email me, info@thesportcircus.com if you're really interested. But what I will tell you is there are jobs out there for those that you just dig sports. You want to be around it. It's just something you like, and it's something you can be passionate about. And people say, well, if you dig what you do, then you don't work. And technically, you get paid to do what you love every day. Well, I like what I do, for sure. And for me, I give a different perspective to sports from essentially in the dugout, in the locker room, on the field, versus most of the people that you'll hear on television or watch on television and hear on the radio or whatever, pick your favorite streamer or podcast or whatever. Now, this is a regular FCC regulated show. This is not a podcast, in case you're keeping score. Big difference. So we don't fix it in the mix. And when I tell you that I have no format, I truly don't have format. I pick topics and I'll develop the topics. That's it. So sometimes you'll hear me trip over myself, whatever. Hey, listen, it happens. People talk regularly at regular rates. I know my voice and diction are good. My rate is good. The rate in which that I speak. I don't speak too fast. I don't speak too slow. But I don't have anything scripted. Nothing. Zero. And that's what makes this fun. Because I don't know what's going to happen. Sometimes I'm in the middle of a show and my phone will ring and maybe I'll have, and I've had this happen numerous times. I've had Roy Firestone call me. You heard Roy at the top of this segment here. Welcome back to the Sports Circus. This is Roy Firestone or something like that. And the point is, I've had Roy call in. I've had Rick Barry, Pro Basketball Hall of Famer, call in. I mean, great stuff. And countless Super Bowl champions and World Series champions and Stanley Cup champions, et cetera, and so forth. NHL referees, you name it, I've had it on here. Crazy stuff. I'm in the middle of a show with somebody, and then I've had the phone ring, and hey, listen, they know the rules. They know not to use profanity or anything like that because that is an enormous fine by the FCC if that happens on this show. Basically, I end up, getting sent to the principal's office. And so that is a very costly trip to the principal's office. But my point is, you never know what's going to happen with a live show. And so I've done live shows for a decade, over a decade. And it's been a lot of fun. But I make mistakes every show. Sometimes you hear them, sometimes you don't. And either way, I don't give a damn. All I want to do is I want to have a fun conversation, be your companion while you're driving from point A to point B, or you're sitting around binge listening to the Sports Circus, which you could probably listen for like 5 months straight, 24 hours a day, and you'd have an episode that's different every day. Something silly like that. But I want to give you something that's going to grab your attention. And holding the 5 o'clock hour, for example, in Los Angeles, which for 5 years on NBC, holding that. And I said, okay, you can move me around. I don't really care. Go ahead, the greater Southern California market. I don't care if you move me to overnight. I don't care if you move me to 8 a.m., 6 a.m., 10 p.m. It doesn't matter. My ego is not in the way. I really don't care. And see, that's when you get good. But let's just say you're looking for a position that's not on air. Well, we'll get to that. But let's just say you're looking for some kind of position. I mean, look, looking at pro sports, of course, it's highly sought after. I mean, for many, many people. And of course, driven by your athletic aspirations or your lack thereof. Maybe you wanted to be an athlete, you couldn't. Sports industry is a very, very, very big blueprint, big plans, big whatever. I mean, it's such a vast area, really. It encompasses a wide array of roles beyond, obviously, just sports, athleticism, including business operations. I spent time on that. Media, of course, I'm in it now. Health, technology, I'm in that. And making it really a diversified field where there are so many different opportunities. And let's face it, the pro sports industry here in the U.S. is a gigantic economic force, literally generating billions upon billions of dollars in rev. And, I mean, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, hockey, whatever, collectively, they really, there's 120 odd sports teams thereabouts in all the major leagues. And it's an enormous ecosystem that extends way beyond the major leagues, right? We got minor leagues, we have college sports, we have developmental leagues, we have all kinds of stuff. They're all contributing to essentially that same sector. And so, I mean, sports has been globalized in the grand scheme of things. I'm talking about from revenue. And so there are so many opportunities, and whether it's NBA Africa, in fact, one of our very dear friends is working on that for Adam Silver right now. It's NBA Africa. I met this guy, over a decade ago, and just a great dude. He played in the NBA for 10 years, power forward. Great guy, the great Charles Smith. All right, Charles Smith always gets an enormous round of applause. And what's interesting is Charles's story here in the last 30 seconds of the segment. Charles's story, he played 10 years of professional basketball for the Clippers and for the Knicks, and his number was retired at the University of Pittsburgh. He was a really good basketball player, but when he got done playing, he's like, you know what? I'm going to go back and I'm going to go learn something, which he did. And he started at the bottom of a company and went all the way to the top of the company. Big corporate America. So it's like, look, all right, I've proved I can play pro basketball at the top level. I proved that I could rise from zero to hero in the professional business world. So he's just checking boxes, but he's a good dude. He's smart. And now he's actually building, I think, stadiums and all kinds of cool stuff in Africa for NBA Africa. There's just so much going on, folks. I got to tell you, this whole sports industry is a lot of fun. And I'm going to tell you how you can get involved with it coming up in the next segment. Don't go anywhere.
If I was your mother and you had a drug problem, I'd grab you by the ear and make you call and get help. You can be in treatment tomorrow and start to get clean in 7 days. Follow Mom's advice and call the Detox and Treatment Helpline now. Write this number down.
800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. That's 800-814-8628.
Are you or someone you love struggling with an addiction to drugs or alcohol and want to be set free from the chains of addiction? Then call Addiction Helpline America right now to get the help you need. From drug and alcohol addiction to dual diagnosis treatment, we provide a confidential helpline to help people like you get sober and live happy, substance-free lives.
Treatment helped me get my life back. I was so addicted, the only person I could focus on was myself and what I needed. I hit rock bottom and lost everything. Through treatment, I was able to overcome those demons and focus on my family again.
I used until I overdosed and almost died. That was the end of the road for me. After seeking treatment, I now have hope. I learned skills that help me deal with life on life's terms.
800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. That's 800-426-4994.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Investors, keep listening to learn how to get your free gold report. A currency crisis is upon us. The U.S. dollar has been the world's reserve currency for over 50 years, but that is changing. It's time to protect your retirement. Decades of reckless borrowing and spending have critically weakened the dollar. The U.S. has become the world's biggest debtor with over $35 trillion in debt. Plus, the dollar's become weaponized. Countries are dumping it. Investors who wait until it's too late could lose big. There is one safe haven: gold. Diversify your portfolio with a physical asset they can't take away. Call the Reagan Gold Group right now and ask for your free gold guide. Here's our number:
800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. That's 800-876-7041.
I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas and the AMTV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by the Sports Circus. Make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for upcoming guests, a prior guest, our recorded shows, which can be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, iHeart, YouTube, Stitcher, Deezer, plus a whole bunch of others. Also, check out the partners page. Lots of great partners at thesportscircus.com. One of our favorites, musically speaking, is the legendary music of legendary rock band Blue Oyster Cult. Click on the logo for Blue Oyster Cult on the partners page. You'll find it right there as soon as you click on partners, and it'll take you right to their tour schedule. Pick up some merch. Listen, folks, these guys have been doing it for a long time, and they are multi-platinum. I think 7 times platinum, just one album alone. Just crazy stuff. And they are incredible. They sound good. They've sounded good since way back in the day. And guess what? They sound tremendous now. No fix-it in the mix. No auto-tune. No backing tracks. No, none of that. These guys are that good. First-class superstar musicians. Friends of the Sports Circus. Click on the link for Blue Oyster Cult. And as you heard at the top of the show, it was Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult. And you're listening to the Sports Circus. And Buck is actually their lead guitarist, and he does most of the vocals. So you probably know a lot of their songs. Most people do. If you live under a rock, then you haven't heard of them, but I guarantee you've heard their music. But again, check out the music of Blue Oyster Cult, legendary rock band, on the partners page at the Sports Circus. All right, they always get the super applause, just because. Boy, I get every time they're in town here in Vegas or anywhere in the region within a few hour drive, I will go out of my way to go see them because they're really, truly that good. All right. Again, check them out at the partners page at blueoystercult.com, but you'll find the link also on the sportscircus.com's partners page. All right, moving on. So welcome back to everybody, by the way, listening on TV and radio and streaming. So I was giving you some input and some background on different ways or different ideas, I should say, if maybe you want to work in professional sports, for example. Let's just focus on that. Entertainment, maybe another show or something to the effect. And let's think about this. There are different paths. So a whole bunch of ranges of career opportunities from various skill sets. I mean, whether you're a seasoned veteran, maybe you're just entry level, you want to get into something. I mean, look, business operations and management is one area, and a whole bunch of roles involve the business side of sports. I do shows on the business side of sports. That's why we had, what the heck was his name? He was the chief financial officer for the Golden State Warriors. And his name just slips me right now. But we've had him on the show, and we talked about the business side of sports. We brought in our friend George McPhee, who is the president of the Vegas Golden Knights, talking about the business side of sports. And on we go. But there's a whole bunch of jobs just alone on the general management side. Think about this. I mean, look, as a GM, obviously it holds the highest position within the sports organization, really overseeing the business matters, the ongoing day-to-day operations. And that also includes like budgets and I'm saying revenues, it's rev, and contracts, trade deals, right? GMs are very very much in the middle of everything, and they're responsible for, in many cases, hiring coaches, administrative staff, drafting players, often acting as the media spokesperson. So a lot of times you'll see like a vice president of communications for a company. Well, that's the person that technically puts the fires out for the company, and they handle the media mayhem when something crazy happens, good, bad, or indifferent. So in this case, the GM will take the bullets for the team, so to say, the verbal ones, I should say. And that's part of what the GM would do. And I mean, look, you've got to have some experience. You got to work your way into a GM spot. Obviously, you're going to likely want to be degreed. I would recommend certainly a master's degree in business, like I have an MBA, for example. So they would probably be in the teams. They'd like you to have either an MBA or a master's in sports management. And I know Ohio University is arguably the best in the business when it comes to sports management programs. So you may want to take a look at what they offer as far as their academia. But boy, it's tough to get in there too when it comes to sports management. And they're out of Southern Ohio. So Ohio U, don't confuse them with that other institution in Columbus. No, it is Ohio U, the Bobcats. They're in the Mid-American Conference. Anyway, those guys, they have arguably the best education in the country for sports management. And also maybe a bachelor's or master's in physical education, right? Alongside prior playing or coaching experience. That always helps. Look, salaries for GMs could be crazy, $500,000 to $3 million a year, depending on the league and team. And if you don't have that experience, maybe you could find your way, you could bust your way into sales and marketing, right? Because got to have some revenue. And there are entry-level jobs like account executives. But still, you probably want to be degreed at least on the base level. And even an account executive, and they sell tickets or premium club memberships and luxury suites. And maybe from there you move up to corporate partnerships, developing and maintaining relationships with corporate sponsors. That's more of the strategic marketing side. It's kind of a fun side. I like that one. Brand activation, that's another piece of the puzzle. So strategy is really to drive the brand and image. So it's kind of like the name, image, and likeness of the team and their actual badge or whatever their brand is. And if you don't like any of that, maybe you want to hang out with the event planning side. And then you could put together those sporting events and the logistics, maybe some media distribution. So if I'm going to go do a show, let's say I've got a private event coming up, but there's somebody that handles the sports planning or the media planning. They handle the actual event itself, every aspect of it, including distribution and even emergency planning. So there are different aspects in the school world that you could study to drive your interest in the sales and marketing side alone. And then there's, of course, the PR side, which, of course, I deal with as well. And managing the public image of the teams and the athletes and preparing the athletes to know how to speak to the media, that's a really big deal. But also there's the side of handling media inquiries. So, for example, if I'm trying to get a hold of the Las Vegas Raiders, well, there's going to be a person that I have to deal with that deals directly with media in their public relations department. So these are just some of the positions within there. Even coordinating events. And if you don't want to do any of that, listen, there's also finance and legal. So let's say you have multiple degrees and you're like, maybe I have my first degree. I'm in college for my second degree. I have an undergraduate degree in business or economics or whatever the heck it is. Or in finance. Maybe I want to be a financial analyst, so you start working for one of these teams at an entry level as a financial analyst. Maybe you're managing budgets and forecasting and stuff like that. And let's just say, okay, you've gone on and maybe you're doing a joint MBA and JD program, right? So you're going to law school. So for me, I went to business school first and then I went to law school afterwards. So technically it was the road to go be legal counsel, for example. So now you're dealing with contractual issues and compliance and intellectual property rights. And look, they handle all kinds of legal matters. Even players and contracts to broadcasting agreements, all kinds of fun stuff. So my path in my world, it was the 2-year degree in a foreign language. So I studied Spanish and then I was a communications guy. So my goal was to go to law school, but I had a great opportunity to go to business school. I went to the #1 program in the world at that time over at Duke University, #1 business program international business program in the world. And I mean, it did a lot of good for me. And then years later, I went back and went to law school. And so when I think about my area of concentration, it was business law and compliance. So I have a specialization in compliance. And I just mentioned from the legal side, you can obviously address contractual issues, compliance issues, IP, property rights for intellectual property, and so forth. There's a lot of avenues if you decide to go that direction. So, and if you don't, let's just say you want to do something simple. I wouldn't say simple, but something not as involved, and maybe you want to work on the human resources side. I mean, look, HR professionals in sports and sports management and talent acquisition, they handle employee relations, org development, recruiting, onboarding. What else do they do? They have support staff, and they basically staff the organization up, make sure that everybody's treated fairly. And so that is a really important piece of the puzzle. It is a very important piece of the puzzle. So look, just in those alone, I'm going to come back from the break with a little bit more thoughts on this and maybe some different opportunities, and you can look for them yourself. But the reality is there are a lot of opportunities within the sporting world. You're listening to a sports show. You're listening to a guy that can't play sports anymore, not professionally, but I'm involved in the sports world. You could be doing the same thing or something bigger and better. This is my sweet spot. It's what I like to do. I like to handle strategy and compliance and all kinds of fun stuff, and I do that sort of thing. But maybe your interest is in finance and legal or HR, or I don't know, maybe you want to be a GM, and maybe you're trying to figure out how the hell do I get working with my local baseball team, football team, basketball, or hockey teams. How do I do that? Where do I start? Well, I'm trying to help you with that right now. Come back in just a few minutes, and I'm going to pick up on this. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't, and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-298-3173. 800-298-3173. 800-298-3173. That's 800-298-3173.
Are you or someone you love struggling with an addiction to drugs or alcohol and want to be set free from the chains of addiction? Then call Addiction Helpline America right now to get the help you need. From drug and alcohol addiction to dual diagnosis treatment, we provide a confidential helpline to help people like you get sober and live happy, substance-free lives.
Treatment helped me get my life back. I was so addicted, the only person I could focus on was myself and what I needed. I hit rock bottom and lost everything. Through treatment, I was able to overcome those demons and focus on my family again.
I used until I overdosed and almost died. That was the end of the road for me. After seeking treatment, I now have hope. I learned skills that help me deal with life on life's terms.
800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. That's 800-426-4994.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, make sure you check out the store at thesportscircus.com. Lots of great items, hats, hoodies, t-shirts, coats, sweatpants, pillows, blankets, travel mugs, coffee mugs, mouse pads, all kinds of cool things with the clever Sports Circus logo on them, American-made products from thesportscircus.com's store. Check that out, folks. A shameless plug for the Sports Circus. All right, welcome back to everybody. TV, radio, streaming, you name it, we're there. You can't get away from us. Even the Mars rover as well. All right, so I've been talking about this for the last few segments. Pretty cool stuff. Look, I'm giving you an idea. Maybe you like sports. Maybe you dig sports. Maybe you want to be a part of the sporting world, and you're trying to figure out, how the hell do I do it? How do I get into my local baseball, football, basketball, hockey team, soccer team, whatever the heck it is, right? And you're asking yourself, what's the first thing I do? But first, I don't even know what my limitations are, right? So you can be in finance and legal and sales and marketing and general management and all kinds of cool stuff, right? And there's also the sports media and communication side, which is where I reside largely. Not fully, but that's where probably 85% of everything I do is within the sports media and communication side. Of course, that's dealing with journalism and broadcasting, and whether you're a sports announcer or commentator. So I do some of that. I'll do play-by-play from time to time as well. And I'll also on-air anchor on Pick Your Favorite News channel as well. It just depends. I'm not a union guy. I don't want to be a union guy, because I don't want to fall under their rules and regulations, but I do appear on this TV station and that TV station from time to time as well, whether it's in Los Angeles or in this area or somewhere east. It doesn't really matter. I'm all over the place and I'm available, but you can actually be in the same position. And that's where that communications degree actually helps. People say, well, that's a useless degree. Well, look, for over 25 years, I've been a college recruiter for one of the top universities in the world. And people say, well, the communications degree is a worthless degree. That's not true, because it helps you from the philosophical side, from thinking critically, delivering content accurately and properly, and more importantly, understanding how people are listening and or watching you from a nonverbal communication side. You got to know who you're talking to, because if you're talking above somebody, they're not going to feel what you're saying. That's not how it works. No, you got to analyze your audience. You got to know who you're talking to. So in this particular case, journalism, broadcasting, right? You can be a sports announcer or a commentator. Maybe you're doing color commentating, but usually the color commentators are those that have experience in a particular sport. So I've served as both. But again, that bachelor's degree in communications and even sports journalism is something that is highly sought after in that particular case. And the universities that are really good in that in my opinion, I know the Annenberg School over at University of Southern California is good. Syracuse has a good program. And if I'm not mistaken, Northwestern University has a very good one as well. I think, in fact, their sister school is at the University of Southern California. So there are a few schools that really specialized in this sports journalism, and they, when they have graduates go out into the workforce, they do really, really well, generally speaking. Now, maybe you want to be a sports writer. Maybe you want to be in a local media company covering games and predictions and drafts and trades and, I don't know, individual player stories. Maybe you want to do the work online, sort of like a blog, start that way, and then go to print publications. But you can also be a sports producer. So maybe you're overseeing content and the flow of a sports broadcast. So kind of like a news manager or a news director at a news station. That doesn't mean that you are a on-air personality. It just means that you're actually keeping an eye on everything in the flow of everything that happens on the news floor in the studio in the first place. So handling, again, the flow of the broadcast and ensuring the quality and making sure the content is engaging. Maybe you want to be a sideline reporter. A lot of people want to do that because they want to get on the field and have fun, or get on the court, or get on next to the ice, or whatever the heck it is. And I have to admit, I've done a lot of coverage for different games, football, baseball, basketball, hockey, and it's a lot of fun. And in some cases, you actually get to be right there. For example, in basketball, they have, depends on the event, they have those seats where you could sit maybe a couple of rows back, but you're behind the regular broadcasters and you're covering the game right there. But in some cases, like the last hockey game that I did, I was able to go down in the locker rooms and interview the players and all that fun stuff. But I was in the press box in Anaheim at the Honda Center, and I was at it's the very top of the stadium. I mean, if you're sitting up there, I promise you're not going to see much. You're going to have to really watch the game on TV, because if you really want to see what's going on, you could see it, but the players are so small because you're so far away. You just got to be careful what you ask for. And let's face it, if you're in the press box, chances are you're also doing some kind of digital media or content creation too. So you're watching and you're creating at the same time. Maybe you're handling social media or digital media, digital strategy. And so the social media side is really taken over as an important piece of the puzzle in the grand scheme of things. So maybe you don't want to do that. I don't know. I mean, look, folks, there are so many different avenues, really. And I've probably worked in 4 or 5 of these different areas. And I got to tell you, I've been doing it for a long time. And I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. I mean, sometimes I think I do, but I just want to have fun. And I'd like to get paid for having fun. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. So let's just say you're a little bit more serious. And let's say you went the doctor route. Maybe you're a biology major in college or something like that. Maybe you want to go to med school. Maybe you said, yeah, I want to go in med school. Maybe it's just a little too much. Maybe I just want to work in sports medicine, maybe from a trainer side or sports therapist, physical therapist, or a nutritionist, a dietitian. Those are really important. Strength and conditioning, this kind of stuff. There are so many health aspects to this as well. And it could be something as simple as providing some kind of emergency care or preventative services, clinical diagnostics, maybe rehabilitation, right? And look, the athletic trainers, they really largely work with the teams and the players. And yes, they require some certification from an official board of certification. That's like the BOC kind of thing, right? So you got to have that. But again, you can work towards that. You don't have to spend a decade in school. So obviously, if you're going to be a sports physician, yeah, you're going to spend a ton of time in school dealing with all the multi-million-dollar athletes. And obviously, there needs to be bonding and insurance and all kinds of fun stuff. But maybe if you don't want to go to med school, maybe you don't want to do all the real heavy medical stuff. Maybe you want to go to med school, you don't want to be an MD. You can also be a physical therapist and basically conditioning the athletes and helping for injuries and treatment plans and preventative treatments and all this other fun stuff. Therapeutic services, maybe even. But the nutrition side, I think, is one of the most important sides, because when you look at the nutrition side and you look at people that are overly lifting. They're lifting weights and they're doing stuff that, in my opinion, I think baseball pitchers should not be in the weight room. No. In fact, the reliability factor for pitchers these days versus a few decades ago it seems to be remarkably different because the workout regimen is different. They say, wow, you got a body like a baseball player. They always kid the baseball players, well, you're fat, you're out of shape, whatever. Not necessarily. There are guys that I know that played in Major League Baseball for 20 years. Like our baseball guy, Darrell Evans, the great Darrell Evans, third baseman for the Detroit Tigers and the San Francisco Giants and the Atlanta Braves. And Darrell played 21 years in Major League Baseball, never got injured. Never got injured the entire time. And all he did was run. That's it. He ran. He didn't do anything else. He practiced, obviously, but he ran. And so the conditioning is different. So these physical therapists are one thing, but the nutritionists, how these guys are building their muscles. And let's face it, we need people to keep these people healthy so our teams could possibly win. And right, whether it's nutritional counseling and educating these players and athletes, whatever, developing maybe the menus for the teams, it's a big deal. Some of the teams actually have good food. Some of them, you scratch your head and say, well, how come we don't have any kind of a regimen like that? And even our own football guy, one of our own football guys said, look, he won 2 Super Bowls with the New England Patriots, Super Bowl 38, Super Bowl 39, Tyrone Poole. And so Tyrone said when he was with the Patriots organization, first class all the way through. And when he went to the Raiders organization, they didn't have a lot of organization when it came to, from what I recall, don't quote me on this, but I seem to remember him saying this, that it was lacking in dietary guidance, and there was some disorganization there. And so you'd see that with the Raiders organization in the first place. They seem to be remarkably undisciplined in a lot of areas. So again, that's part of it. Even sports psychology, that's another part of it you can participate in. Maybe you want a degree in psychology. Maybe you want to help the players with performance anxiety. Now, we know the great Dr. Jack Llewellyn's a really good friend of mine, and he was the sports psychologist for the Atlanta Braves for about 20 years. And he helped with these players with performance anxiety and eating disorders, depression, keeping their heads on right, that kind of stuff. And maybe you don't want to do that. I mean, look, folks, I can do another program just on this alone, but I'll just run through it real quick here in the last minute or so. But I mean, look, there's facilities, even facility operations and management. Maybe you want to work in the groundskeeping or handling the HVAC and the maintenance and guest experience and whatnot. Look, breaking into pro sports and the industry is extremely competitive, but there's a whole lot of strategies that really you can help yourself with. Educate yourself, in my opinion. At least get that bachelor's degree. If you want to go on further, get a master's degree. Take the internships, the entry-level positions. It doesn't matter, because major leagues like NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, even the Major League Soccer, and whatever, all these leagues, look, they all have internship programs. Use them. Get connections. Do the right thing. Network with people. And do it tastefully. Go to the career fairs. Go to the industry events. Talk to people that actually go out of their way to talk to you. Why do I say that? Because if they're going out of their way to talk to you, they may have something that you don't have to go groveling for. Think of supply and demand. Too much supply of you is what? No demand for the audience. And there's a whole bunch of resources out there too, whether it's Teamwork Online, jobsinsports.com, careernba.com, NFLPA.com. Hell, you can even use LinkedIn or Sports Management Worldwide or anything like that. Look, there's all kinds of cool stuff out there, folks. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's show. I can carry on this for a week straight. Anyway, that's going to do it. We'll see you in 23 hours on your favorite station right here. Until then, so long, everyone.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.